India now, where the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is paying respect to the father of the Indian nation, Mahatma Gandhi. That's Prime Minister Netanyahu accompanied by his wife Sarah. Remember, this was top of his agenda for this Monday morning on his visit to India, the first by an Israeli Prime Minister since Ariel Sharon's back in 2003. The Rajghat in India's capital, New Delhi, is a memorial dedicated to Mahatma Gandhi. It is on your screens right now is the black marble platform which marks the spot of Mahatma Gandhi's cremation on 30th of January 1948, a day after he was assassinated. An eternal flame burns perpetually at one end of this ceremonial platform. It's open to the air. It's located on the banks of the river Yamuna in Delhi, and it's also on the appropriately named Mahatma Gandhi Road. This is where the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his wife Sarah are currently paying respects to the father of the Indian nation, Mahatma Gandhi. This is day 2 of the Israeli Prime Minister's visit to India. He arrived just yesterday on Sunday. He was received by the Indian Prime Minister at the airport and was hosted at a dinner by the Indian Prime Minister yesterday. Today, this morning, in fact, just a short while back, he was received a ceremonial reception at the President of India's residence, the Rashtrapati Bhavan. He is currently at Rajghat, the memorial to Mahatma Gandhi, where he is paying respects with his wife Sarah. Now, this is the operative beginning of Prime Minister Netanyahu's visit to India. He'll be meeting his Indian counterpart Narendra Modi and holding delegation-level talks later today. Two sides are expected to sign agreements and issue a joint press statement. The Israeli Prime Minister is also going to call on the Indian President Ram Nath Kovind later in the day. There will be a lunch that the Indian President will host. That is the Israeli Prime Minister's itinerary this Monday morning. Visuals on your screen right now are of the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his wife. They've just paid homage to Mahatma Gandhi, the father of the Indian nation. Now, that's part 2 of Prime Minister Netanyahu's visit to India on, I'm talking about just this Monday. He was welcomed at the Rashtrapati Bhavan earlier this morning with a ceremonial reception. He'll be heading now for an engagement with his Indian counterpart, Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And of course, he'll also be part of delegation-level talks that are expected to take place a short while from now, later today on Monday. Lots of agreements, memoranda of understanding on the agenda between India and Israel. Remember, the Prime Minister addressing the press very briefly earlier this morning from Rashtrapati Bhavan said that he calls this the dawn of a new era for the friendship, the relationship between India and Israel. He said that Mr. Modi's historic visit to Israel last year created a great degree of enthusiasm, something that continues to this day in terms of his visit to India, which he called deeply moving for both himself and his wife Sarah. He also said that peace and progress were the imperatives for the relationship between India and Israel and the hopes that he had for peoples of both those countries. Tomorrow, that's Tuesday, Netanyahu and his wife Sarah will leave for Agra, where they'll be visiting the iconic Taj Mahal, and he'll also be back in Delhi the same day. He'll be participating in the Raisina dialogue, where he is scheduled to deliver the inaugural speech. Then on Wednesday, that's day 4 of his tour, Netanyahu will leave for Ahmedabad, where he'll be visiting the Sabarmati Ashram. On the broadcast with me right now is Ramesh Ramachandran, WION's senior international correspondent. Ramesh, so Prime Minister Netanyahu has completed his visit of paying homage to Mahatma Gandhi, and I suppose next up on the agenda is, of course, the interaction with his Indian counterpart, Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
Absolutely. That will be the much anticipated bilaterals between Prime Ministers Modi and Netanyahu here in New Delhi, the Hyderabad House. But that said, as you mentioned earlier in the morning, Aisha, today is the operative part of his 6-day visit. So a lot of items on the agenda. Besides the bilaterals, he will have a meeting of the India-Israel CEOs Forum, followed by an India-Israel Business Summit later in the evening. So all in all, a packed agenda for both Prime Ministers Netanyahu and Modi here in New Delhi today.
Absolutely. And among the areas of convergence, areas of conversation, Ramesh, there are the expected ones such as on defense and technology, but also interestingly on agriculture and cyber security. Why do you think these two areas have become such key ones between India and Israel?
Well, Aisha, part of the reason is that Prime Minister Modi, when he was Chief Minister of Gujarat, had visited Israel, and he had seen how Israel had harnessed its technologies in the areas of agriculture and water, especially water conservation, in drip irrigation, increasing efficiency of horticulture, fruit cultivation and so on. So he was quite taken in by what Israel has done over the last several decades, and he wanted to replicate that in Gujarat, and now he wants it to be replicated on a national level across India. And to that extent, Prime Minister Modi, when he visited Israel in July last year, emphasized that he wanted India to approach agriculture and water from a strategic perspective. So clearly we are told that India wants to have a national water conservation campaign going forward, for which it expects Israel to play a crucial role and help India out in that endeavor. Also in the field of agriculture, especially in setting up centers of excellence. There are 28 centers of excellence India and Israel have decided to set up, of which 22 have already been set up across 11 states of India, and 6 more are in the pipeline on the anvil. So clearly, agriculture, water conservation, innovation in agriculture, innovation in defense, innovation in science and technology, all of these items will be on the agenda when the two leaders meet here in New Delhi later in the afternoon.
Right, and that's something we'll be keeping our eye on. Ramesh Ramachandran, for now though, thanks for joining us this morning with more on that story.